What's going on, guys? It's Ed here from Geek, and I am back with Google Ads Agency Roundtable 2, and this one is all about setting client expectations. I've got Nick Kremer and I've got Mark Kelly. What's up, fellas?
How's it going, man?
I decided to be like Ed today.
Oh, there you go. It. Throw it on backwards and you're good to go. I love it. Rob was supposed to be on the call today, but I've got to break his balls because he doesn't know how to work a calendar and couldn't find it. And then Dustin's away on some family business. His son's getting a promotion, so congrats to Dustin's son, and hopefully come back for the next one. So today we're going to talk about setting client expectations. So you've generated the lead, you've closed the deal, you've got a new client that's coming on board. Let's walk through how you properly set those expectations. And to be quite frank, some of those expectations should be set in the sales process and not after the fact as well. So walk me through how you set expectations, Nick.
Yeah, so setting expectations for us, again, preface it, we are residential real estate, so we're extremely niche down. And every new client wants you to come in and promise something, right? They want promises. And then God forbid you miss that mark by $1 or $2. They're gonna come back and be like, but you promised me this. So we learned early in our agency that we set expectations at a very conservative level. So we let them know what we expect of them, and then let them know what they should expect of us. We expect you to follow up with that lead immediately. We expect you to have a good follow-through system. We expect you to answer the phone when it rings. And in the world of real estate, sometimes those things don't happen. So when we start to have our follow-up calls with them about their leads and how they're doing, we'll have that follow-up and saying, hey, we expected to get these numbers. We expected this and this from our side. How are things on your end looking? And what do those leads look like? Because honestly, when we set our expectations, we'll tell them, and I tell everybody, like, it's the classic Mike Tyson comment. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And then plans get thrown out the window. We always tell everybody, I've got a conservative idea of what I can get you for cost per lead, how many leads I can generate in these areas. And I tell them I'll reset that after 30, 60, 90. After 30, we'll have a pretty good idea and we'll be able to give you an educated number and idea. After 60, we're going to look and see where those leads are best coming from, because we used to be the race to the bottom. What's the cheapest lead you can get me? And then we kind of changed our focus, and we really want to be ROI based in our marketing. And if you do that with anybody you're working with, you're going to have a lot better relationship, telling them we care ultimately if you make money, not if you get leads. So at 60 days, where are the better leads coming from? And at 90 days, here's what we think we can do going forward. We try to do that. It doesn't always go according to plan. Life doesn't go according to plan. But when you set those expectations and tell them what you expect of them and what they should expect of us, I think that sets a good baseline for relationships, honestly.
Love it. Okay. And I love the idea of doing it up front and then 30, 60, 90 days as well as you get data through the campaign. Mark, how about you?
I think that 30, 60, 90 days is a little bit of genius there as well. We set expectations of two types: expectations for the process, how things are going to work, how we're going to work together. And then we set expectations for results, or we don't, depending on the niche. Unfortunately, we're not niche down. So we work in a wide variety of white label, whatever the client brings us typically, though we're changing some of that. How I deal with situations where it's not a standard PPC niche. You have those niches are going to work well, and then you have those niches you just don't know about, or fields you just don't know about. I make sure that on those, I actually jump on the call. Other calls will have Justin, our sales guy, jump on the call and explain how everything works, what it costs, what you'll get. But for those calls that it's something a little unusual, I feel like if I get on there, I can help set their expectations in terms of results, which might be literally, I have no freaking clue because I've never done, Google ads for, engineering services in Taiwan or something like that, So I try to set the expectations up front for those clients that are difficult to know, and try to sometimes persuade them that this might not be the best course for you. And there's lots of reasons for that. If they have something that has a long sales cycle, they have something that's new to the market. That's one of my favorite ones. Nobody knows this thing exists yet.
Right.
Can we market it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Creating the market.
Yes, we can. Will you ever sell any? I don't know. That's one of the reasons that we really shy away, as I know you do, Ed, from e-commerce, because those expectations are high, and your abilities to influence the outcome are limited on the Google Ads side.
Yep. Yeah. You nailed it there on the e-com side. You got your traffic, your keywords you can control, your click-through rate, your ad copy you can control, and then where the traffic goes on a landing page on lead gen side, you can control that, split test that. On the sales side, it's like if they don't have something that's actually converted in the past, you've got to then kind of create that process for them. And that can be very painstaking, could take a really long time, a lot of testing, and the whole time inventory is sitting there. And it's not necessarily your job to figure that out. The business has to have some sales systems in place, both from a local lead gen to sales, but then also e-com to sale, that it's not necessarily your job to do that. So e-com's definitely a much more difficult process to manage and set expectations for.
One thing that I say for e-com people starting to sell on e-commerce is run a shopping campaign. I don't necessarily want to run it because of all the feed issues and challenges and everything else. But run a shopping campaign. If it's not selling anything, your issues aren't Google Ads. Your issues are somehow related to your pricing, your product, your site, your UI, your something. Because Google Shopping should sell products. Even if it doesn't sell a ton, even if it doesn't sell at a great return on ad spend, it should sell products. So, but then again, we try to stay away from it.
Yep. And Mark and I have both sold a lot of white label PPC over the years. One thing I'll add into what Mark said is, with white label, you're setting expectations for the agency, who's then going to take those and may or may not play the game of telephone properly.
Mm-hmm.
May overinflate those expectations or underinflate them. So you just have to be more on the conservative side, because they're going through a filter and they may come out the other end a bit higher than what you said, or vice versa. So, properly setting them, I think, is really important, because, the game of telephone, if you played that growing up, the message definitely changes as you go.
We find out a couple of things sometimes too. I think the other thing I forgot to mention in setting expectations is we sometimes will do projections. We put all over the projection, this is a projection.
Mm-hmm.
This is based on this click-through rate, this conversion rate, this, estimated cost per click. But these are just numbers. These are estimates. It's likely to vary. Could be better, could be worse. But as far as like the white label, setting the expectations, we're trying to set it with the agency owner, as you noted. We don't know what they said, but oftentimes you find out after you engage, oh, by the way, I told the client they're really in a rush and they need to see some results, like, 7 days from now.
Yeah.
Like, look,
Right.
it's cool.
Can you get that done tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So you both have mentioned the process of setting expectations in the sales process, and then after the fact, once things are live. One of the things that we frequently hear, especially from local business customers, is, why don't I see my ads? And we all giggle at that, because it's funny to us as insiders, but for someone experiencing it, walk through break that question down, what it means, and then like how you would respond to it from a client perspective. Nick, go first.
So why don't I see my ads? I usually, and I'm a bit of a smart ass, as people know. I'm a cynic to a point. So when somebody asks me that question, I ask them, why don't you spend $20,000 a month? Like, so if they got a minimal budget and they're asking, why don't I see my ads, and we're only running at a specific time and trying to get the cheapest click possible, and our search impression share is 25%, then my first question out of the gate is, why not spend $20,000 a month? And maybe you'll see your ads 9 times out of 10, because it's an auction. Because you can't dictate what Google's going to show and what they're not going to show, because so at first we'll start out as a joke when they ask that question, like, how come I don't see my ads? We're like, well, because you don't have unlimited budget, right? Because if you want to cover everything, and we have clients that will come back and try to do that because there's, you have that vanity of, I want to have my ad show up every time. Yep. Because it's not fiscally responsible to do so, is what we tell them. That's not smart money to do that.
Right.
But then we explain to them, hey, it's an auction. Google does what they want to do with that auction. They place you where they place you. You can have a 98% search impression sharing. You might not see your ad at some point on that, but at the same time, it could be because of what your avatar is on Google. When you're signed into Google, what you're searching for, Google might know that they don't want to show you that because of what your search history is and what you're looking for. There's a ton of different factors that go into it. We usually use a smart ass approach to it. It's saying, well, how come you don't have if you had an unlimited budget, I might be able to get you 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a common question. It's typically people that are uninformed on what Google Ads is and isn't, because they're used to seeing their ad on Facebook, right? When they put stuff up in there, because Facebook, if you're doing a remarketing, retargeting ad, then yeah, you're going to be able to see that ad because Facebook wants to burn your cash as fast as possible. Yep. So yeah, that's how we typically approach it. You can try to make light of it and let them know this is this, but then you will get that one unique individual that wants to spend unlimited money. I don't know if they're trying to impress a girl or make their mom proud or what they're trying to do, but they just have to have their ad up on top. And we've burnt cash doing it. I don't love it, but we'll say, well, we can get you up there 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 times. So it's not smart money to do that.
Yep. How about you, Mark?
I try to answer it with like a 2-sentence response. There's a variety of reasons that you might not see your ad based on budget, settings, algorithm, your search profile. Our focus is 100% on driving the most conversions, with the available data that we have in order to bring you more leads and blah, blah, blah. Something like that. I just try to sort of gloss over the whole thing because I've tried to, there's no point in really explaining it. Right. Honestly, I should put together a video of myself explaining it and then just send them the video.
Do it. We have one. It works, guys.
Yeah, it's a great FAQ, isn't it?
Well, the way we kind of describe it is kind of a mixture of everything you guys just said, and then we're also layering on top of that, listen, you're likely doing this in the first couple of days that the campaign's live because you want to see what the ad copy looks like, but know that you're not going to waste money by clicking on your own ad. And by doing that, you're actually lowering your CTR, your click-through rate. You're actually hurting your campaign performance, especially the brand new campaign. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah. So like that. And then at a certain point, Google's going to stop serving you ads. If you keep seeing the same ads and you're not clicking them, Google's going to go, that's not a buyer, I'm out, and stop serving them. So a mixture of everything you guys just said is kind of what we tell them as well. But I think kind of just cutting that off out of the gate if you can, or for us at least, we found it to be effective because it's just one less thing a potential customer is going to email in with questions about. So, something we've learned from Josh Nelson in that ultimate onboarding process is like, what can we educate them on that we know a question's coming down the pipeline ahead of time before it becomes an issue, or
that's a good point.
It might be an issue, it might just be something they're curious about, but if we could just eliminate it, that's kind of what our thinking is on it. Now,
when you get that question still, do you just forward the link to the video?
Yeah. Okay. We'll typically go like, there's a bunch of reasons for it. Here's the Google support link that explains it. But if you want a more in-depth explanation, check this video out, and we send something like that off.
Nice.
We find that helps. We have that with that. We've got a video, I believe, on call rail spam calls. So if you're using Mark, you use What Converts. Nick, you're using call tracking metrics, right?
Yep.
So those numbers have all been in use by other companies at some point in the past. So sometimes you'll get direct dials to those companies or spam calls, and customers think that they're paying for those, and you have to catch it early enough because, like, let's say they're on a robo-dial spam list and all of a sudden they get 6 spam calls in a day. The customer panics because they think they just spent $200 on that.
Right.
If you can beat them to the punch on that and explain that earlier, we find that to be helpful in the process because spam calls are a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great point.
So before we got on, we were just shooting the shit, and we were talking about clients that want to use some of their own infrastructure in the build out in the process, whether it be call tracking or a website or a landing page. And I'd like us to go through kind of what we were just talking about. I'm going to start with Nick, because Nick had a great way of describing it and it made me laugh just thinking about it. So Nick, talk to me about what you say to clients that are kind of insistent that you should be using their infrastructure and their marketing assets.
Yeah. So when we have customers that ask us, do you want to do the my way, your way, or are we talking about the CMO issue? Or is that a separate question? Do we go through that next?
I think there may be even one and the same, but the one I want the 90s reference. That's kind of what I was thinking.
So huge 90s movie buff. We call it the now I'm losing track. We call it the Days of Thunder theory. And in Days of Thunder, Tom Cruise was really bad at driving a car and he wore tires out. So his pit crew boss was like, run 50 laps my way, 50 laps your way. We'll see whose tires end up best at the end, and then we'll figure out who's right. So I sort of use that analogy when we're talking to clients and they say, I'd really like to use this landing page or this style or do this ad copy. And we tell them, we can definitely test it. Ultimately, it's your money. You're paying us for that expertise, but we're always up for trying stuff out. So we'll run 2 weeks their way, 2 weeks our way. We'll usually lead in with ours because if it's a new account, so if it's a new campaign, we want that new campaign to flourish properly. So we'll run it 2 weeks our way. And then we'll run it 2 weeks theirs to show them what that looks like. And you'll see that dip. So they'll get a nice flow of leads coming in. And then when we change it over and say, okay, we're going to change it over to your style. Sometimes they'll come in and be like, no, everything's good. Don't do it. But then when we run it their way, we're able to show them pure data and saying, hey, look, if we run this to the homepage, which is my favorite thing. Well, my homepage is amazing. And my homepage has a giant photo of me on it. So people are going to get it that I sell real estate. Like, no, they don't. They want to see houses. So when we have that come up where they want to show something or they have a special homepage that loads at 5 or 6 seconds instead of at 0.8 seconds, we'll run it their way, show them how terrible the results are. And then they'll be like, okay, yeah, you were right. We've never lost on that. And that's because we're professionals in that, right? They can probably sell a house better than I can. I guarantee they can do a better job of selling a house than me, or helping somebody buy a house or negotiate that. So we sort of say, establish dominance in that sense and saying, we'll do it just like the Days of Thunder. Most people that I talk to have seen that movie and they understand that reference. Some of them are confused. So I just send them the YouTube link to it if they want to see it. No different than Glenn Ross video. I mean, I send that to a lot of people when they come back and tell me the leads are weak.
That's awesome.
Oh, I need to check that one out. Yeah,
I like that.
Send me that one.
Yeah, will do.
How about you on using client infrastructure? And I know that you're in a bit different of a situation in that you're heavy white label, but still, what would your typical response be in that scenario?
My typical response has varied over the course of history to like, yeah, we'll be amenable and we'll work with you. And more it's leaning towards, not just no, but hell no, here's what we do. Because we offer essentially a package. If you want to get outside of that and you want to work on some other type of basis, we could do that. But we're in the situation right now where I took on a client with their own landing pages. We can't set up tracking because we don't have admin access. They keep setting the container up wrong. We're going to bill them again shortly. Client, you know who you are. And they're going to be like, why are you billing me? You haven't done anything. Well, I am sitting here every freaking day doing something, trying to get access to your pages, which we could have running 3 weeks ago. Yep. A more recent, matter of fact, today is, and this is why I'm like moving away from it, because it's just not productive for us or the client, is like, why aren't my unbounced pages secure? Oh, because they're in your account, not in mine. I don't know. You insisted we put them in yours. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know mine pages are good.
Yep.
but I don't know why your pages aren't good. And I don't really want to know why your pages aren't good. And sorry, that sounds terrible, but it is what it is. I've also told people we're not on your Slack, we're not in your Basecamp, we're not in your, I can't be at 100 different systems.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do things a certain way to be productive and to give value to your clients. And we're not giving value to our clients if we're letting them build out the landing pages the way they want them, or build out landing pages without a phone number or call tracking on them.
Yep.
Or, we're just not doing our job at that point.
Yep. It's like going
in my
through
opinion.
a Tesla ordering process or a car ordering process and be like, you know what? I've got my own car doors I'd like to put into that.
Exactly.
Boom.
Maybe,
I like that.
But yeah, it just, you got to go through your assembly line process, and if things divert off that, it should cost more because you're breaking the system, you're breaking the line.
Right.
But we offer buckets of hours to people that just want that sort of thing. I'm fine. We can spend as many hours as you want trying to get your conversion tracking set up on your page. I don't mind.
Right.
But it's not productive for either one of us if we're trying to launch something effectively and get leads.
Yep.
Yeah.
My 2 cents on it is when we go back to our magic formula, you got your 3 things to make a campaign work. You got the right keywords, right ad copy, right landing page, and you got to do them in buckets and think about them in buckets. And if you start testing one of those, let's assume we've been in every market that we're going to take a new client in 95% of the time. Nick, you're 100% of the time. Mark and I, it's going to be 95% of the time. And then you got those random one-off niches that we haven't been in.
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at it is if you've got you've got your known assets in those markets, your known entities, the campaign you can clone, the keywords, the ad copy, the landing page variation. As soon as you steer off that and go to something else, you're testing an unknown variable that is going to throw off the results. And with Google AI, a lot of the AI is based on the traffic converting, not just getting the click. So if you start with something that's going to underperform, that's going to throw off your ability to get conversions later in the campaign, because all the data is being produced on an under converting asset, if you will. So it's got a knock-on effect. And our thing is, if you're going to test something, test the landing page last, because that's the last tranche that you work through in the process. That's how we kind of talk to clients about it, and you've hired a professional team to do this for you. Unless you've built and managed campaigns and can convert traffic and have a history of it, let us do our thing. And then the last thing I say to be not as jerky as possible, but just as realistic as possible. If your brand was as good as you think it is, people would be going directly to your brand versus going to Google looking for something. I'll give you an example in the removal space. A lot of people get nervous about big franchises being in their market. 1-800-GOT-JUNK, college hunks calling junk, that kind of stuff. And my thing is that's good. That means there's money to be made in your market. But think about if they were as popular as you think they are,
they wouldn't be running ads.
They wouldn't be running ads, but also the market would just be going directly to them. And
right.
This huge flush of search traffic there. So brand is very important in the long run, but take it with a grain of salt when it comes to Google Ads, because it isn't as big as people think it is, even for a big franchise.
Yep.
We had a recent case where we ran a branded campaign at request of the client. That was really their key thing, was we went branded search terms, and it spent nothing. And they're like, why isn't it spending? Like, because no one knows you exist. Let's run display ads, but we can't make people search for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't know you exist.
Yeah.
We can do branding, but keyword search for a brand that no one knows is not highly effective.
Yeah.
And if you think about all the companies that have that brand equity, they've spent tens of billions or tens of millions of dollars to build that and earn that in the market.
Yeah.
We get that a lot with companies that want to do booking or reservation pages on local businesses. And I'm like, I get it, but you're not hotels.com, you're not Uber, you're not something that's earned the right to ask for someone's credit card in the lead gen process. And you're just trying to eliminate the step of having to talk to the lead and sell the lead. You're going to skyrocket your cost per lead, and it's gonna hurt performance, and you're not going to like the yield. So why not start with lead gen? Let's prove the point, dial in your cost per lead, and then we could always split test on the back end. That's typically how we say it to clients.
I recently looked at a client's account and they weren't converting. They were converting, but it was at extremely high cost. And I'm like, there's something going on here, obviously. And there were the usual rookie type of, or typical, some mistakes in the campaigns, or mistakes from my point of view. But it was only after the fact that I learned that they had integrated a booking. They didn't want calls. They didn't want forms. They wanted people to book appointments, which means you're going to cut your conversion rate. I mean, that's perfect.
Yep.
If if you have the brand equity, if people trust you, but really all you're trying to do is shortcut the process of actually talking to your clients, selling your clients.
Right.
And that's not on your ad campaign. That's on people's trust of you and willingness to just sign up to have someone drop by their house and do an estimate.
Yep, absolutely. Nick, now you're an interesting industry because you've got a bunch of billion-dollar brands in your space and a bunch of big franchises or multi-brand locations. Are you number one, are you going after that style of branded traffic? And then number two, are you going after agent, broker, near me traffic? Or is it purely just homes for sale and XYZ? And then if you are going after the franchise style keywords, do you find it effective?
So I love saying this. I say this probably 10 times a day on the phone. It depends. So if it's 9 times out of 10, we don't ever bid on keywords like Zillow or realtor.com. Or Trulia was bought by Zillow. Now it's basically everybody uses Zillow. But like the Keller Williams, KW, Remax, EXP, all those brands out there. Real is a new brand that's out there. It depends on what we're doing with the client, what the campaign is that we're setting up. Every campaign we do, it's architecture based off of the design of the campaign is based off of the main architecture of it's homes for sale homes for sale near me is another one, but that's a different campaign. That's a local. If you're when we talk to clients about their brand, depending on what their budget is, they need to have people that are actively looking for houses for sale, whether it's a 2-bedroom home for sale in Bettendorf, where I live. That's a more specific lead than homes for sale, just the pure generic term. And then when we get to branding, it might be that they are the lead team for EXP in their market, and they want to make sure that anybody does a search for EXP comes up to them. So that might be important to them. We don't spend a ton of money on it. It's a lot less, like Mark said, there's a lot less traffic out there for that. We do have some people that dominate markets and that are a name and a face, and they are the brand in their market. So we will run branded ads for them. And you're getting those for like 25 cents a click because it's, you're Googling somebody's name or likeness or their business name. You're up in front. And we tell them the reason we're doing that is to make sure that they have the most real estate possible on that search results page, because their competitors are going to be bidding on them by accident. Most times it's by accident because when you let Google take the reins, they're putting those ads everywhere. So they know that's a real estate agent. So they're like, okay, we'll run ads in here. But they're going to have that top slot. Then they're going to have a couple slots below in the organic. So it really depends on what the goals are for traffic and the specific client. If it's a single agent that is trying to generate, let's say 50 or 60 leads a month for themselves, rarely will we ever do a branding ad. More than likely it's ads for homes for sale in XYZ, latest listings in homes with a pool, homes with with a large lot, ranch homes, stuff that are signifying that their search is a lot more specific. No different than when we sort of equate it to, everybody knows how Google does, when Google does their training, they're like red shoes for sale, right? So they talk about shoes for sale, women's shoes for sale, women's red shoes for sale. So we're telling them, let's get further down that, deeper down the funnel. If somebody's doing a search for 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom ranch with a pool, then they're pretty specific on what they're looking to buy. They've got a good idea of what they're looking for. You can even put in price point variances. Those hit from time to time, but most times we're not doing that branding. We can kick Zillow's butt a lot of times in advertising, because where we're doing is our ad copy is better. We're taking them to specific stuff that people are looking for on that. And Google does not like Zillow anymore. And it's pretty apparent with GLS coming through and Google Local Services coming through and being available for realtors. That came out, and I don't think there's a coincidence to it. That came out right when Zillow basically said, yeah, we're a brokerage, and yeah, we're gonna start to charge you for stuff. That's when that advent came out. And I mean, I think you're starting to see them in the organic side. I don't touch organic, but you're starting to see Zillow have less of a stranglehold on the organic side too.
You dropped an absolute gem of a nugget in there very early on in that, and I want to go back to it just so people understand what
you're gonna have to remind me what I said then.
I got it. As soon as you said it, I almost interrupted you because I was like, "Whoa, do people realize what you just said?" So you said something to the extent of homes for sale near me are in one campaign, and homes for sale in XYZ are in another campaign.
Yes.
Absolute gold. If you aren't thinking about this, if think about the mentality of someone saying that search, and explain to me why you break those into two separate campaigns.
Yeah, so they're extremely.
Let me preface this: not separate ad groups, separate actual campaigns.
Yep. And it is 100% to do with your geographic, your location targeting. So when somebody's doing a search for something near me, you have to be in the smallest location possible. With real estate, they don't allow you to do very tight coordinates because of equal housing laws. So with that, when we're doing a house for sale near me, it means in that city, in that neighborhood, hopefully. When people are doing a search for a house in XYZ, that could be national, that could be worldwide, that could be depending on the market. We work a lot with military real estate agents where it could be PCSing. Permanent change of station is what that is. So, we could be running an ad in San Diego for somebody going from San Diego to Colorado Springs to the Air Force, and we're doing homes for sale in Colorado Springs, but only running it in San Diego. Homes for sale near me. If you want to run that ad campaign for all of the United States, good luck. You're gonna absolutely destroy that person's budget. But yeah, that's why. When you're saying near me always has to be a very specific, tight location. And if you've got, like the way we build our campaigns, it's built in the cities that they want them in. So if we're talking 3 or 4 different cities, so let's say Charlotte, Raleigh, and Charleston, right? Like we've got somebody that has market, they have locations in each of those markets. If you're doing homes for sale near me, it has to be in those specific, that's 3 different campaigns right there. So when people do that, when you're running that, it's a more generic lead. It's a better lead for people to call. So doing click to call campaigns, smarter on that sense. But again, there's a time and place for everything.
Awesome. That's an absolute gold nugget from a strategy standpoint. I love it. Dustin Miller, PBC Pros, does a lot in water sports. So his market's very similar. Someone in the market looking for a boat rental, jet ski rental, versus someone 2 weeks prior who's going on vacation to Fort Lauderdale that wants to find someone to rent from in market there. So he runs similar with multiple campaigns like that. So
I'll take that one step further too. If you're doing that, load up on mobile, because that's an audio search. That's motor, like boat rentals near me. That's somebody on vacation with their phone in their hand doing that search audio. That's where that's sort of coming from. So having that I would probably bid down desktop pretty heavily, or just have mobile only for that campaign. Split those out. I would guess you're going to get a lot more better search results and better lead count, more quality leads on that mobile search.
Absolutely. And just okay.
I had that discussion, I guess, and lost it with a client who had an entertainment along the shore. And I'm like, we need to target people who are here already. And they're like trying to find something to do. But you also have people who are going to be there in 3 weeks who are looking for something to do when they get there. And you're losing all those people because, that's a separate campaign, as you noted, separate targeting, separate types of keywords and things like that, things to do in Wildwood. Boat rentals in Wildwood is something that you could target in Philadelphia because they're all heading over there, for the weekend, but they're not there yet.
Right.
Type of situation. I'm really curious, Nick, how you guys, sorry to jump in on your on your Q&A, Ed, but I'm really curious how all the restrictions impacted your niche with all the Google Ads restrictions on, targeting.
It made us more valuable because you have to be smarter in what we do. A lot of the, yeah, I do that too. And a lot of the fly by nights kind of got their ass handed to them, to say it nicely. But where it hurt us most is we would stack heavily on female search. The female, the wife, if it's a nucleus of a husband and wife that are buying a house, the wife is doing those initial searches and doing those at specific times. So we would load up and add more juice to the wife doing the search or bidding down the male side. Also hurt us on 18 to 25s for doing not only gender but age. You would remove certain age demographics, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would do some plus 55 communities. We can't do age demographic on that anymore. So you'd put plus 55 in the ad copy now. Where it hurt us most is we used to do, geo-targeting is a smart thing to do. I like geo-targeting. We can't go into it. So if anybody ever leads with me and says, well, so-and-so, who's your competitor? And 9 times out of 10, I've never heard of them. They do geo-targeting. I'm like, that's great. That's illegal. So you're going to get sued if you get caught, but cool. You should do geo-targeting for real estate. But we used to do very specific zip code targeting.
Mm-hmm.
Great example is, and I understand why the laws are in place. I don't hate them, but my big thing is that people are allowed to put billboards wherever they want, right? And there are $1 million homes for sale in Memphis, and there are $50,000 homes for sale in Memphis. And some people just don't market to one or the other. And we've got clients that do both, right? But Google and the powers that be thought that it was better for us to run those ads to everybody. And honestly, you're not searching for $1 million property if not many people are searching for $1 million property. So we would remove that from certain searches as much as we would remove the lower end homes. But yeah, it wasn't as big of a hit as people might want to tell you it is. Our cost per lead didn't go up. Our agents are still closing deals. It's just us getting more intelligent with our ad copy, I think, to sort of weed out that at the ad copy.
Right. That's a trick you have to do sometimes. If that's all you have is use the ad copy to kind of filter out.
Makes the monthly management easier because you don't have more levers to pull, right?
Right.
So, can't touch that anymore.
Yeah.
My thinking on it, my suspicion, if I was a conspiracy theorist, would be that it was a revenue driver for them, not necessarily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Practice.
Yeah, right.
Well, isn't that every decision that Google
That's
makes?
my hunch.
Facebook did get their hand slapped by the government and said you can't do that because they're way more aggressive. Yeah. Facebook was more aggressive. We would do different emoji sets for male to female. I mean, it just the male likes the thumbs up, and I guess the females think that's stupid. Where the females love the heart, eyes, and smile. So I didn't know that was a thing until I asked my wife and asked the females at the office. They're like, "Yeah, thumbs up are dumb." I'm like, "Okay." So I purposely send thumbs up to my daughters and my wife a lot just to piss them off. But yeah, that's where Facebook was the one that got their hand slapped really hard, and Google actually got in front of it and said, we're also going to shut this down for employment, for lending, for employment, finance, and housing. But 1000% it is a revenue driver for Google to take away our, or to limit our ability to save our clients money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just is.
Yep. Average, add it to the list, average position removal, match modified removal, search and report removal. It's like, you take one of them in isolation, it's like, okay, I could see that. You take 10 of them together, you're like, what are you doing?
Right.
All right, guys. We are nearing the end of our time here this week. Anything you want to leave off with before you wrap up?
Happy April Fool's Day. Everything we said was a lie.
I was going to say, happy Fool's. It's all a joke.
We'll be back to telling the truth next week. I want to say congratulations to my brother who got married on April Fool's Day. Congratulations, Bill. That was awesome. He really did get married on April Fool's Day.
Jokes on him.
It is actually my brother's birthday today, so he's a fool. He's an April Fool's birthday.
That's
And my
awesome.
daughter's getting her driver's permit today, so everybody pray for me.
God bless you. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'd love to have you guys back on in a couple more weeks. One topic we had that we didn't cover today was sales process. So maybe we can start that off for next time, and how important it is both for us as agencies, but also for the clients as well. So that's it for today. I'll drop links to Nick and Mark in the description. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, just drop them below. Anything else you guys want to know about, drop it below, and we'll go from there. Have a great day, guys.
Great to talk to you guys.